I think that it's going to make houses more sustainable and also more energy efficient. And if you have more energy efficient home, it obviously costs you less in the long run to run. And I think change is always difficult. Change is difficult in any industry. It seems particularly difficult in construction. But it's always a positive, I think, and I think it's a great move in the right direction.
Welcome to an episode of the Build Insight podcast. We have two inspiring women in the studio with us today. I'm joined by my co-host Dean. We have guests Jessica Allen from Climasure and Rebecca Brock of Brock Fable Design in the studio. Ladies, can we pass over to you and just give a quick introduction on yourselves and tell us about what you do?
Jess says I'm first. All right, hi, Rebecca, from Principal Designer and Director of Brock Fable Design. We are a boutique company that specialises in alterations and additions as well as new homes. I work collaboratively with clients as well as contractors and have a personal interest in sustainability and energy efficiency.
I'm Jess. I work for a company called Climasure. I never know what to call myself. Sustainability consultant, I guess you could call me, is a sort of an umbrella term. But I work in the high performance sort of section of our industry. I work for a builder who builds passive houses, and we also consult to other architects and builders, and we help them do the same thing. So we do blower door testing, hydrothermal analysis. We also help with, we sell ProClimate membranes, so we just help builders to keep their buildings dry and energy efficient.
That's awesome.
Sounds good.
That's awesome, guys. Good start. I'm actually nervous because we've got a fellow podcaster in the studio now. It's not Jess's first time. I didn't make it into the last one with Jess and Ben, but yeah, it's doing amazing things, Jess. And do you want to just touch on the building sciology? I've said that, haven't I?
Yes.
Sciology new project of yours as well before we keep going?
Yeah, sure. Building sciology was just, I don't know, it's something I came up with last year. And I started an Instagram page. I called it Building Sciology, which is a combination of the words science and biology. I started some study towards becoming a building biologist last year, and the two sort of science and biology fields just meshed together to become one, and they really complement each other. And I really would like to learn more about mould specifically, what's happening in Australian homes. A lot of the work I do is around avoiding mould, so I'd really like to know more about what's actually happening. And yeah, so the Instagram page started, and then I started to get a bit frustrated with how limited that scope is to get information out, and so I thought I'd start my own podcast. Yeah, give me a computer and a pair of headphones, and off I went.
Beautiful.
So, yeah.
That's awesome. There's a lot of eye-opening stuff on the Instagram page if you're not following it or aware of the high-performance side of building. You've got some good indication of what mould looks like and can do. But yeah, guys, what was the inspiration individually getting involved with the construction industry when you first got started? This is the career path you went on.
Okay. Yeah. We'll play the same pattern. That's fine. Okay. So I was lucky to just be raised in a family that expected us to follow our path regardless of what it was. It was a fairly kind of liberal way, and I wanted to get into both the design and the practicalities of construction. So that's why I ended up doing an architectural degree, and that sort of marries both. Interesting to talk about science, is that marries both the creativity and the science components, the maths and the art components, and that was where I was heading. It wasn't until I got into actual university that I realised I might have chosen something that perhaps wasn't so well gendered in a sense. I think we had 10 women begin and 3 graduated after 5 years. But that was a long time ago. I've been around for a while. So I just was following my dream to do what I wanted to do. And that sort of, thankfully, I had the support to do that as a young person to do. Jess?
My turn. Yeah, I didn't get into this path until I'd had my children. I was in my late 20s by the time I decided I wanted to be a building designer. So yeah, I left school, I went straight to uni, did a Bachelor of Arts that I've never used a day in my life. I raised children. My ex-husband is a builder, so I worked in his building company for a few years while I was raising my babies. And yeah, decided one day that maybe I could design buildings and he could build them. So he was the sort of inspiration, I guess you could say, for this career path. So if you're listening, Jade, shout out. So it was like a family business idea. And so we were living away in Queensland at the time. We came back to Adelaide and to be closer to family. And so I started my study. And as soon I started my study, I was still drawing it with pencil at the time. Like I was on the tail end of when all the CAD programs were really ramping up, and so I started doing the design stuff, the timber framing code stuff, and then I started doing the energy efficiency subjects and the sustainability stuff, and it was just like, it just hit me in the face, and I was like, what? This is so interesting. And yeah, just doing things right the first time and understanding supply chains and understanding where the sun moves around the sky. And yeah, so that just became the beginning of my rabbit hole that we all talk about. And I started learning about all different types of building methodology, like tiny homes and earthships and all this sort of stuff. And yeah, I got into the energy efficiency game doing NatHERS star ratings. And then it snowballed into airtightness and passive house and that kind of thing. But yeah.
That's what you just said there. It's like a wall moment where you see, hang on, what we're doing is not necessarily the healthiest way of building or living in our homes. Myself, Jess, I'm an asthmatic, so I, living in some crappy houses, thought something's not right here. I'm not breathing properly. I'm waking up all congested. Was there anything particular for you that was when you had that wow moment, went down the rabbit hole, like a particular part of the health part of it that sort of drew you in first?
No, not at all. I don't have any allergies. I don't believe I've had any adverse health effects from the houses I've lived in. It just made sense to me. It's just, why would we do it that way when we can do it this way? It's just a matter of knowing. And so yeah, been on the path of sharing that information as far and wide as I can since, because when you know better, you can do better. So yeah, there was no health reasons for me. My children didn't have any health issues that I'm aware of, at least, that was caused by unhealthy homes. Yeah, it just made sense. I do it right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Encouraging more women to pursue a career in the construction industry. Have you seen over your time, opportunities evolve for women looking to get into a career in our industry?
Absolutely. Thank goodness. Because, yeah, back in the day when I started out, is a long time ago, and possibly always the only woman on site. Now, there's lots more women on site, which is fantastic. Yeah, no, there is. And it's just becoming a bit more normative, a bit more with the changing of the generational guard, shall we say, with the new generation coming up with men and women. It's not as difficult, it seems, to just do what you want to do when you want to do it. I got to a point where I got a bit fed up with the work environment in which I was working in and ended up starting my own business at 30, because then I could choose to do what I wanted to do and work how I wanted to work. And in terms of raising kids, which is interesting, as you wrote, there was no maternity leave or anything like that. So I created my own space, created my people that I wanted to work with, and also design and construct in the way that we wanted to. And then you surround yourself with people who are like you and doing what you wanted, similar collaborative kind of processes. But it has definitely changed, absolutely, which is fantastic. And diversity in any workforce is important. There's huge amounts of research that goes on about all forms of gender, race, ethnicity, in terms of how that makes it a better place to work.
I think even an important topic or a sentence that you might have mentioned there as well, Beck, is you surrounded yourself with people that were on the same mission.
Yes.
or had the same interests as you. That's a big thing, regardless of whether it's men or women in the industry.
Absolutely.
If you really want to achieve it, surround yourself with the people that have got the same vision or the same goals.
Absolutely. And then you're not fighting against the tide. You're working with people, and once you get into that space, you get into the space that you want to be in, then everyone's there because they want to be there. They're not there because of other reasons. And then traditional kind of stereotypes just go out the window, because you're not there for that. You're there for creating decent, excellent, designed, constructed spaces. Yeah.
Yeah, I think in such a male-dominated industry for such a long time, we saw that. I know I probably felt even 5 years ago, you'd see a woman walk on site in any capacity. Maybe not so much design. For me, in the last 15 years, I became a builder. We early on were working with women in that capacity, but trades women, especially when you had maybe a female painter walk on site or something like that. Okay, that's a trade that would be good for a woman, and that's a stereotype kind of process thought. And now there's so many female carpenters and all sorts of trades, roof plumbers, and it's that stereotype part of it. And keen to get your take on it, guys, is that's an old thinking methodology now. And I've grown up with a lot of women in my family. Yeah, is there any stereotypes that you fought through early days in your respective careers?
Absolutely. From the comments of why would you want to get dirty with concrete and bricks, it didn't even occur to me about concretes and bricks. But anyway, that's not what girls do. There really should be no barriers. And I think it's just capable, whether you're capable of what you do, whether you're good at what you do, whether you work hard at what you do. The fact of what your gender is irrelevant. I do think there is this kind of perception that women aren't as strong or perhaps not as capable. I don't know. It beggars belief, but I think that has definitely changed. A woman can be a carpenter just as much as she can be a painter, a designer, a building consultant. What do you think?
Yeah. I haven't had to struggle through any gender stereotypes myself. I'm lucky and I'm quite fortunate in that I've never felt uncomfortable on a construction site, and I work in the consulting space for my whole career, but I do still spend a lot of time on building sites, and particularly in more recent years, I'm actually telling builders what to do, how to do better in their work. But because I bring a specialised knowledge, I think that the people who I consult to want that knowledge. So, yeah, I've never once felt belittled on a construction site. And I don't know if that's partially because of the role I fill. I'm not competing with any trades per se, I'm taking any trades jobs or anything, if it's the changing tide. But yeah, in the 10, 12 years I've been on construction sites, I've never had a problem.
Yeah. We're going to jump straight to a very important topic that thankfully I've had the pleasure of working with both of you on this so far, the importance of collaboration. How important is it for builders, designers, consultants and any other professionals in the early stages to collaborate on any project?
If you value good design and good construction, it's essential. It's absolutely critical. And otherwise you're all working in isolation and you end up with a sort of a patchwork quilt of an end product. Now, there's nothing wrong with a patchwork quilt in a blanket. But
we don't want that in a house.
We don't want that in a house, definitely not. No, it is fundamental to good design and good construction. That's all I can say. If you want an excellent end product, everyone's got to talk, everyone's got to be on the same page, and everybody brings an expertise to it.
It's absolutely crucial. There's no two ways about it from the start. From when the idea starts to form in your mind, you have to put a team together and know where you're going. And constant communication is, your project could quite easily fall over on bad communication. Yeah, I would hope to think that is well known in this industry, that if you don't collaborate, you don't communicate. Every consultant brings expertise and one thing affects another. Yeah, absolutely imperative.
I need to jump in here for a minute, guys, to thank our sponsors, Bachman Builders and Calorie Building. Without the support of these businesses, the Build Insight podcast wouldn't be possible. Take a moment to go and show some support for them so they can continue to support us, bringing you the Build Insight podcast. I think for those listening, like some good examples on how it can transform what you do. It obviously saves heartache, saves money. There's a misconception that they need to spend too much money up front. While we're doing that, the more money and the better design you spend up front, the more simplified the construction process is. There's no unknowns. A good example of it is a lot of my learnings over the last couple of years. Jess has been a bit of a sounding board for me, and I've gained so much information and knowledge from her, as well as then working collaboratively with Rebecca on the design of our projects, then actually being able to implement those details on how we're wanting to build better onto a piece of paper so that anyone on site can actually interpret it, rather than getting the design completed and then, okay, now how do we bolt this stuff on? And it ends up, we actually create more problems then, because it hasn't been designed that way to be able to take what we're wanting to reconstruct, essentially. So yeah, it's definitely a very powerful process that shouldn't be missed.
No, and another really good example of collaboration being absolutely crucial is energy efficiency compliance. Just general building code compliance. With the code changing and evolving, the 2022 building code is currently in place, and it's changed quite significantly, and it's no longer that bolt-on that you talked about. Whereas in the 2016 code, even 2019 code, you could still get away with bolting on if you had the right energy efficiency assessor who knew how to tweak a few things. It's no longer, it's really hard. It's getting much, much harder to do that. So if you get your concept plans and you're all ready to go and you lodge them to council, and then you've got your heart set on this particular design, and then council says, or you get your energy assessment, and then the energy assessor says, this won't pass, we cannot get it to pass, or in order to get this to pass, you have to change this window size or that window size, or in order to get this to pass, we have to upgrade your windows to something that you can no longer afford. The early collaboration in that particular space is going to save a ton of money and a ton of heartache.
Yeah, I actually, even as late as last week, got a message from a builder asking about incorporating details of cavities and how we're going to finish claddings and stuff off, and sounds like the projects are going. And there's a lot of this in the industry, unfortunately, and none of us are doing that side of it, but where design's over here and this is happening over here, and then the builder's doing his thing over here. And it all has to work collectively together. I suppose, Rebecca, a question for you especially is, what are some of the telltale signs you're seeing? You've obviously got some good collaboration stories. Have you got some more stories of where that's broken down, or it's clearly just not taking place? Do you get some frustrations from your side of things with it?
Look, you do. I think one of the issues that I have to grapple with is in terms of people's expectations. And I have to keep saying, look, the time spent in this space, the time spent with the paper and the pen, obviously digital, I'm not with a pen and paper anymore, but that the analogies there is time saved on site. And time saved on site is time saved financially. But not just that, it actually produces a better product at the end. That time spent assessing, as you say, the site. And that's where I always start, is orientation. And that's just a no-brainer, really, in this space that we work in. And just, the sort of trying to get people, because they want to start. And I get it. They want to start. They've made a decision to do something and they want to start as soon as possible. And that is valid and often necessary. But just to try and do the time and do the thinking and do the processing and do the designing and do the collaboration and get the expert advice in, particularly, like you say, with the NCC 2022 requirements, that is critical, but sometimes difficult to get happening early on in the piece.
I think it's about meeting and delivering expectations as well. Because if you can provide the detail on the plans, rather than, because far too many times in the past have I seen projects that we've taken on that the designer's got a full development approval, we come on board, we may interpret a specific section of the design in a totally different way than what the homeowner has interpreted it, and then all of a sudden there's arguments around why have you built it that way, or why does it look like that? Let's go, well, the drawings didn't tell us how it probably should have been built. That's the way we've interpreted it. And yes, you can communicate that and go, we're not quite sure how to build this. How were you envisioning it? But again, that's just a breakdown and more wasted time on site. So it's about meeting and delivering on expectations as well.
It is, yeah.
And bringing in consultants is one thing, collaborating with your architects and your engineers and your sustainability consultants and your builder and all the professionals. But collaborating with the homeowner, like you've just said, is equally as important. They need to be brought into everything that's going on.
Yeah.
It was vital. Without them, none of us would have a job. So, without the client, it doesn't occur. And without good clients and without good relationship with clients, then, we don't end up with a good product. Absolutely, Yeah,
a house has to be built on paper before we get to site and start doing anything. Yeah, that's some of the bad stuff, but what's some successful stories with collaboration you guys can share?
I have to edit out the pause here. Editing collaboration. You're one.
Thanks.
Let me think. I collaborate all the time, just helping people.
You've provided, I guess, using me as the example then, we have collaborated on projects that I wanted to implement better details and I wanted to improve the way that we were building. I didn't necessarily know how.
Yeah.
So we collaborated.
Yeah, I mean, I do that.
Spitballed some ideas, and you helped me with some designs and detailing, and we're now testing homes for air tightness and getting the camera out and making sure there's insulation where it needs to be and things like that.
Yeah, and I do that on a daily basis. That's my job. So collaboration is an inherent part of my job.
So a success story is you taught me and you provided me the answers that I needed to know. And you've also probably done that for another guy down the road, and the next builder, and the next builder.
Yeah, it's
and becoming successful, and I think we've used this saying about 5 times today in previous recordings, but a rising tide floats all boats.
Yes, that is the saying of the industry.
it's not, well, the following from what Jess does too, it's not just the builder and maybe the carpenters that get that experience, because you're highlighting then the electrical, the other trades coming in and out. I know whether they even had cabinet maker present on site for a blower door test and stuff. So everyone levels up. Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah. And when you say to a trade, it's, mate, you leave that insulation out. I'm going to find it, and I know it's going to be you, because that electrical wire is going to be pushing it out the way. Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's, apparent all around us. If we change topic, guys, I think we can talk collaboration all day. But, another big one in the industry that we're talking a lot about is the health of a home, building better, sustainable homes. It's a huge part, Rebecca, of what's going on with the NCC. Naturally, we're automatically building more sustainable with energy efficiency improving. So how much have you seen the changes, especially with design, South Australia's only come in October last year, so you guys are really fresh with the implementation of the latest NCC?
Yeah, it's critical. We have to do it. We have to do it regardless of whether we want to or we obviously it's an interest in everyone sitting here. But it's there needs to be communication about how that pans out. There has been a sort of a stop-start kind of process with what's happened with the NCC, and that's fine. That's caught up with a whole lot of other stuff that we just need to deal with and work through. So I think that moving forward, we cannot keep building housing stock that is not sustainable nor energy efficient. We just can't. It's disrespectful to our kids and their kids and the planet on which we live. So the NCC 2022 is fabulous from that point of view. There is this fear that it's going to make houses more expensive. I refute that. I think that it's going to make houses more sustainable and also more energy efficient. And if you have more energy efficient home, it obviously costs you less in the long run to run. And I think change is always difficult. Change is difficult in any industry. Seems particularly difficult in construction. But it's always a positive, I think, and I think it's a great move in the right direction. Yeah.
Also keeping in mind that these changes are now actually the bare minimum.
Bare minimum, absolutely. And we need to go beyond the bare minimum.
Yep.
But at least we have a bare minimum now that looks a bit better than what it did. But, yeah, I agree with you, Luke. Yeah.
Sorry, Jess, did you have anything you want to add to that? Challenges on implementing it. Obviously, we're collaboratively on a bit of a mission to try and elevate our building projects as best as we can. What are you finding are the challenges trying to get this over the line with the homeowner? We've got pushbacks, obviously, misconception, thinking it's going to cost them a hell of a lot more money. There's always obviously ways around it, but what are some of the biggest challenges you're finding?
Look, actually, most of the clients I deal with, obviously, probably because of the work that I choose to do, they're on board already. And that's fantastic. And I think probably the challenge is I've got clients who want to do as much as possible. And that's fantastic. But, of course, they have a budget.
Yep.
And that budget is finite sometimes. And until the whole of the industry gets on board and this becomes standard practice, the prices of those things are going to continue to be high. It's like when we first implemented solar panels. They were exorbitant. Now it's possible for everybody to have solar panels. It's just one of those things. So the cost of it right here, right now, even though I said it's not going to increase the cost, what I've got clients who want to go beyond the basic. I've got clients who want to do absolutely the highest possible that they can. And
There's a common trend at the moment as well, actually. There's a lot of clients that are coming to all of us that they're educating themselves.
They are, yes.
Gone are the days of they want to know everything from you. They're doing a lot of their own research before they even approach us. And they're specifically asking for certain products, certain materials, and the way that they want things.
Which is great.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah.
It's great to work with clients like that, yeah.
Yeah.
I think being the Victorian in the room, where we talk about building costs being more expensive, if we want to build more of a high-performance passive house, Jess, obviously if you were to draw an arc around the top of Victoria, include us with Tasmania, we're obviously building denser walls for higher R values for your climate zone, and as you head further up Australia into New South, Queensland, WA, there's not much that really has to change to build more of a high-performance energy efficient home. You don't have to build thicker walls and so forth. So how do we, from your market, what you want to do, and that's obviously how people come to ClimateSure, calorie building, and whether you're doing HRVs or anything like that, you're marketing what you're putting out there. So what do you think we need to do to actually bring the rest of the community in to say, hey, this is why you need to build like this? Is there a certain story we need to tell or more information that needs to be put out there?
I've been having a few conversations about this lately, and I think obviously budget is on everyone's mind when they're going to build a house. It's the thing that is like the barrier for people. But so selling this story, doing an energy efficient house, people just essentially at the end of the day want a house, and making that they want it to be nice to show their friends. They want to have a lovely place to have their family over, or a lovely place to live in. But in terms of making it more energy efficient and comfortable, there's still a notion that's, I don't know, nerdy or boring or expensive, like that the cost thing keeps coming up. But to be sustainable I was talking to somebody on my podcast recently about it, and he was like, we need to make it sexy. How can we make this sexy? How can we make it something that you have to keep up with the Joneses to have? How can we make it something that everybody actually wants and prioritizes, instead of it being only a pocket of the industry? And the NCC is that minimum line that everyone has to get to, and that's as far as most people ever think they need to go. I try and encourage people when I do blower door tests, I try and encourage people to tell their families around a dinner table, and then encourage them to get blower door tests, and then to start competing over there. Try to get them to keep up with the Joneses. Yeah, and so there's the sexy side of it, and then there's the peace of mind side of it, which is knowing that when you go to bed at night, the house that you are living in is not costing you a packet to heat and cool, is supporting your health, and is your home. It's your safe space. So that peace of mind for me, I know that if you don't collaborate early, and if you don't understand how heat, air and moisture affects your building, and if you don't have checking processes on site to make sure that things are being done correctly and insulation is being installed correctly and blah, 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 your peace of mind is very quickly ruined when you move in.
Yep. I think it's, the biggest, or one of the biggest, or if not the biggest investment that an individual or family will ever make. There's definitely a lot that needs to go into it to ensure that that's going to stand the test of time and be there for future generations after as well. All right, guys, that concludes part 1 of our chat with Rebecca and Jessica discussing insights into women in construction. Join us next week for part 2 as we wrap up this conversation. Let's cue the disclaimer. I need to let you know that myself and the Build Insight team are in no way, shape or form qualified to give you personal or specific business advice. We strongly encourage you seek out the use of professionals for products or when you are making personal or business decisions. Everything discussed during the Build Insight podcast is our own and the guest opinion and personal experience, and is of a general nature only. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Catch you on the next one.